Hey guys, welcome back to Mark Remeets World. This is me, Mark. We're gonna be talking about my love of Boy Meets World with every episode. I'm so thankful for how everyone's been responding to these mini episodes. Keep in mind, our first full episode comes out on Monday afternoon, and I think you guys are gonna really enjoy it. I'm really having a lot of fun with this project so far, and the response has been incredible. All right, so for today's mini episode, get you guys excited about what's coming up. Um, I wanted to talk about the third best friend. Now I know what you might be thinking. What? Third best friend? Yes. Okay, so in the first two episodes of the show, it wasn't just Cory and Shawn. It was Cory, Shawn, and someone else. Basically, what happened was in the first episode, there's one boy in the third seat. And then in the second episode, there's a different boy in the third seat. In the third episode, there's nobody in the third seat. In the fourth episode, that's when Topanga comes. We'll be getting there eventually, of course, because that's I'd say the first great episode of the show. We'll talk about that in about a month. But today, I want to give credit where credit is due to the two actors that played the third best friend, and one of them was actually definitely felt like a series co-lead. His role was basically the same size as Sean's in the first episode. We're going to start with him actually. If you don't believe me, you'll see him right there with Shawn. The character's name, his name is Nicholas, but he's never actually mentioned by name in the episode. He is mentioned by Mr. Broynahan, by Mr. Feeney in the first big scene. All right, so he's played by Chauncey Leopardi. Chauncey, he's most well known for playing Squints in Sandlot, the guy with the glasses, and in The Big Green, which is pretty funny because there are a couple of actors that both were in The Sandlot and The Big Green. He also was a recurring role in Freaks and Geeks during the show and Gilmore Girls for a couple of the seasons. Um, what I find so fascinating about him is like there's no ifs, ands, or buts that he was definitely considered like the same amount of importance as Shawn Hunter. I mean, look at this kid. There's no way he was not trying to be a series regular. Fun fact, Shawn does not have a name in the first episode. He actually doesn't gain a name until the fourth episode. We do know that Ryder Strong was going to be a series regular from the beginning because he is in the title cards, as I showed you in the last episode about the theme songs. But so there's actually a very funny scene for Nicholas in the first episode, in the first real like right after the theme song, basically at the end of the first act. If this was TV, if it follows that structure. So they're studying Romeo and Juliet, and he has the fake knife, and he's like, "I'm gonna stab you. Make sure you're dead." To the Juliet, she's like, "No, no, 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 no." And they get a little bit silly, as you probably have noticed. I have screen capped a couple of images from that also. Um, I it's really interesting because he is so extra, for lack of a better word. I find him great in it, but the show would have been very different if Nicholas Broynahan actually appears in more than one episode. Uh, Also, it is worth mentioning that there is a scene where they have lunch, and it is mentioned that he is an only child and he eats two slices of cake. Um, I find that fascinating. I mean, I love cake. If you want to give me cake, guys, I will eat all the cake you got. But yeah, I'm just trying to figure out like what the dynamic of the show would have been like if he actually stayed on the show. Definitely, it was implied that he was rich, so there would have been some interesting episodes with him and Shawn. Only child, of course, would have been the opposite of Shawn and Cory, as both of them at least have a sibling. Um, Now, I'm going to go a little bit further here because I feel like this could be an interesting theory. Where did he go? Where did he go when he was not at John Adams? I think he went to private school. That's what I think happened. or military school, one or the other, because he's kind of a problem child in that first episode, which that's totally fine. That's what Boy Meets World is all about, especially at this point when they're 11 years old. Um, I think military school. Also, if you look up Chauncey Leopardi on IMDb, you'll see he's got a lot of interesting credits. He's worked a lot as a character actor since Boy Meets World, and he's definitely very recognizable, even if you do not remember his character well or at all from Boy Meets World. For our next episode, that would have been a new kid on the block. He's only in like 2 or 3 scenes in this episode. His name is Ellis. He is named almost immediately. And with a little bit of ABC magic, we have a new third best friend. One of his big defining trait is that he loves Batman and loves the Water Wars. That's a big plot point in this episode. He's also played by Dewan Guy. I believe I'm saying it correctly. He was discovered by John Singleton while on stage, and John Singleton tried to cast him in Boys in the Hood. And the casting department says he was too young to be in Boys in the Hood at 8 years old, which makes sense because he was going to be a flashback, and they want to make it sure that everyone is the right age for flashbacks. The actor Dewan Guy, he did appear in 2 movies that I love so much, and was that is him. He was Jake in Candyman, and he was also in a movie that I adored when I was like 9 years old, Little Giants. Oh my god, I love it. Fun fact about the character of Ellis: he does make a second appearance. In episode 5, Killer Bees, he appears briefly. But yeah, he definitely was a secondary character at that point, and then he was no more after that. For the character of Ellis, I want to do the same thing where I hypothesize of what happened to the character after they disappeared. He definitely is a comic book nerd, so I really don't know like if that would be a defining trait for him for his whole life. But I kind of want it to be because there's not that many blurs back then on television, and I think he was a fun character. He's quite passionate. That's the thing that I noticed about both third best friends. They're both quite passionate people. I'm gonna say he writes his own comic book and becomes a comic book star, and kind of becomes like a Brian Lee O'Malley type or something like that, where they write interesting books and they're not the traditional fare. That's where my brain is in that. So that's today's episode. Again, as you're probably aware, we do launch our full episodes on April 13th around noon. Can't wait for you to tune in. I think you're going to love it. I'm working really hard on it. The feedback's been great. If you like what you see, subscribe. Of course, if you want to email the show with any comments, suggestions, whatever, Remeets at gmail.com. And I will see you guys on Monday. Bye.